All right. It ain't cheating if y'all ain't engaged. I know you see that title. And I know that many people have mixed feelings about this, but I think that this is a subject that should be much more objective than it currently is. And let's get into why. But before I do that, my name is Jordan Dominique. This is the Shining Force channel. Please like and subscribe. It is definitely much appreciated. With that being said, let's go ahead and get right into the topic here. Now, this past week on all my social medias, I made a post saying that if you aren't at least engaged, there is no such thing as cheating. I was immediately met with a bunch of, mixed feedback, I'll say. Some people agreed with me, some people disagreed. I will say the overwhelming majority of people, I won't say they necessarily disagreed with me, but I will say that they said that it's a more of a subjective, nuanced topic. I won't necessarily disagree with that. But once again, kind of like my last video, I think this is one area where having a little bit more objectivity would reduce the complications that we experience in the dating world. Because man or woman, in every single social status level, financial level, we all have something that we can complain about in regards to the current dating space, especially for heterosexual people. We live in a very stigmatized culture where we have these assumptions about what a man is supposed to be and what a woman is supposed to be, from a, how can I say it, responsibility perspective, for lack of better terms. And what I mean by that is we have the way that an ideal man and woman are supposed to act, waking up before the sunrise, getting a good breakfast in, working a 9 to 5, coming home, family things and stuff like that. We have that on one side. And then we have the, I don't know, shadow self of that, if you will, almost the antonym of that. And it's no disrespect to people who go either way, because we all have both of these sides in us, which is what I'm getting at. But that shadow side is I want to go out and club, I want to have fun, thinking selfishly, the YOLO mentality, living as if we're going to be young forever. These are things that we do not out of a malicious intent, but we act in these kind of ways because we are afraid. I'll say a lot of the times people act in those ways because they're afraid that may be the highest level of happiness or entertainment that they can attain. And a lot of them are afraid to move past that to the other side because in today's society, it seems so rare. But that's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in the way that it is. Because, let's just call it the hoe phase, okay? Let's just call it that. Man, woman, whatever. You can go through the hoe phase all you want to, but you're not going to find the real until you're out of the hoe phase. So if you're afraid to leave the hoe phase to find the real because of the risk that comes with making that transition, and you stay in the hoe phase, you will effectively make the possibility of you transcending that much smaller. Now, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I'm going to bring it all back in because, once again, the topic is about it ain't cheating if you aren't at least engaged. And I'm sure you're like, well, okay, how are we getting there? So in my post that I made, so many people said that a piece of paper shouldn't determine your love for someone. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. That a piece of paper doesn't necessarily signify any greater depth in a personal connection between two people, which at the end of the day is what a relationship is. Okay, that's fair enough. Can you then say that polyamory is going to help you deepen the connection with said person? Or does it allow you the freedom to conduct yourself in hedonistic ways while still having the guise that you're trying to work on building something with someone? What I mean by that is, what do people actually benefit from polyamory besides the ability to do what they want? Being able to do what you want, and if you communicate that properly, that's a good thing. That is a very good thing. But what are you actually building for yourselves, your family, or society at the end of the day? Well, sure, I lost a lot of people right then and there saying, whoa, hold up. What is my relationship for society? What does my relationship have to do with society? And that is where we are reaching today's problem with my topic. People don't believe that their relationships are a service to society. And if that's the case, I just have to ask you, why do we get into relationships? Are we purely getting into relationships for a sense of security, like a security blanket that you can come home to and snuggle up with? Or are we aligning ourselves and organizing ourselves into these units, crystallizing into these formations to build a stronger structure for society and humankind as a whole? In order to answer that question, we can't answer it from right now because these people are so far detached from the point of relationships that they don't even know what it is. It's like asking a baby about calculus. They haven't learned it yet, and they don't know the history of it. See, calculus existed before most babies that were born today. But just because it has existed since the dawn of humanity, and there are experts everywhere to explain to an infant what calculus is, they still don't have the mental capacity to absorb that. And that's where we're at with a lot of people with relationships right now. We're eating baby food. And that's in totality represented with how we live our life. Because we don't believe, listen, most people sit there and say, it's not my fault that I was born. And you're right. That is right in a sense. And if you carry that mentality through your life, you can then say that everything that you do is, one, not your fault, and two, not your problem. Because, hey, I didn't ask to be born there. One thing, but the next thing I can say is that the people who say that they didn't ask to be born are only saying that because they don't believe that the world that they were born into is a very great place. If the world was what people consider to be a great place, and they had the opportunity to ask to be born, I can guarantee you that people would ask to be born into a world that they viewed as a good place to be born into, right? So if you're saying that you didn't ask to be born into this world that is messed up, because it is messed up, but you would have asked to go into a better world, but since you're here, you don't want to work on making the world a better place. Once again, we get back to that self-fulfilling prophecy. It shirks responsibility while you take on the full you experience all of the bad that comes with the world that is around you without putting forth an ounce of effort to make it a better place. And it doesn't guard you from the bad things that happen. Not helping does not guard you from the bad things that happen. You still experience all of them. So by sitting there and refusing to take responsibility for the world that we live in, doesn't do away with any of the nasty stuff that we experience. It just pretty much guarantees that we will continue to experience those things. Once again, wrapping that back into our topic here. Duty comes with relationships. Duty comes with responsibility. And the responsibility of relationships between heterosexual men and women is that at the end of the day, if you are starting a family, if you're planning on becoming a contributing unit in society, then you should do that in the appropriate manner, which is marriage. We need to refocus towards marriage mindedness, not just symbolically, and not just looking for Mr. Perfect or Mrs. Perfect and locking in only when we find that, because it's not going to happen that way. Because the truth of the matter is, not only is that extremely rare in a fairy tale that's been sold to us, we are so downtrodden in society right now that we actually have to build those people. I'm not telling anybody to put forth, you can't sacrifice your own well-being trying to build somebody else. It's about identifying who you can build with, understanding your shortcomings, their shortcomings, and overcoming them together to become stronger and then create a stronger next generation. I've kind of been working this video backwards because all of this has to be a prerequisite to what I'm about to say here about why it's not cheating at any level beneath that. We need to cut out this boyfriend and girlfriend crap. It doesn't make sense. Where in society, I'm going to do some research and find out where in society this became allowed, acceptable. Because we went from a world of feudalism, wives, mistresses, maidens, and concubines, which was, yes, a patriarchal society. Put that on the back burner, because I'm just talking about the way that the world worked relationship-wise. And if you really want to get into why it happened, it was for the protection of women who were being protected by the men, but that's neither here nor there. And yes, it was being protected from other men, but okay. Then we could take it all the way back to when we were all outside, wild animals, and fighting for shelter and food and stuff. And okay, did it matter if you were a man or a woman then? No, because who was going to eat that piece of whatever, flesh or some food that you found? The strongest. And then we had contracts. But besides that point, where we're at right now, in societies, we had marriage, concubines, blah, 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 mistresses. There was no girlfriend, boyfriend situations until somewhere along the lines that became acceptable. And with that becoming more and more acceptable, it took the stress off of the risk of actually building something that is set in stone, a foundation. And while it removed that, the stress that comes with that and the risk, it introduced a whole new stress and a whole new risk of, now that people are choosing to not take on these more responsible roles, we have a less responsible society in totality. And with that being said, this boyfriend, girlfriend, oh, but they cheated on me, blah, blah, blah stuff. What does that even matter? Why do we care about where somebody else is putting their genitals, for lack of a better term? Why do we care about that? It's about honesty. It's about trust. It's about commitment. Honesty of what? Do you think that it is honest for a man to sit here and tell a woman, or a woman to sit here and tell a man that I am only attracted to you, I will only be attracted to you, I will only have relations with you? I don't think so. Is it show self-control? Possibly, if that's what they want to do. And just by saying that it's not cheating if you're not engaged doesn't mean that everybody should go out and have multiple partners. I could say for myself, even though I exercise the option to do that, I have the option. I'm not going to say that I ideally want to, because monogamous relationships sound nice. They sound awesome, which is why everybody wants them, which is why everybody does the boyfriend-girlfriend thing and calls it cheating, because we want that commitment. But boyfriend and girlfriend is pseudo-commitment. It's not real commitment. And then they say, but why do we need a piece of paper to prove that we're, in love and doing our thing? Okay, Yoni Mitchell, calm down. All right, bro. 1969 is that way. Just so you know. Because in this day and age, you're right. You don't need anything to prove that you're in love. But what the fuck does love got to do with it? Don't y'all listen to Tina Turner? And look at the hell, look what she went through, bro. And she was still telling you what's love got to do with it. Y'all wasn't even listening. But I say all that. But I say all that to say that we have to have a higher sense of duty in this. Because moving back to what I said, making the world a better place comes with building strong family units. Earlier I used the word crystallize because a crystal is a when a certain element takes on extremely similar structural formations down to a molecular level, society will have to mimic that. And that creates a stronger structure because of how all of the molecules sit on one another. It makes it denser. They're able to fall into place, and it just creates a stronger material. Crystallized versions of material are oftentimes much stronger than the other versions of that same material. In that same way, humans must crystallize with their units and harden themselves to create a foundation, a concrete foundation that we can further build society off of. It's all of our responsibilities, and that is what our relationships are about. I had people who sat there and tried to say that if you date somebody for 10 years, I'm sorry, I had someone say that if you date somebody for 10 years and you go out and sleep with somebody else, is that not cheating? And that person thought he had a good point. But then I quickly rebutted with, if you date somebody for 10 years without marrying them, you're cheating everybody. That's wrong of you. To keep a person, especially if you guys have expressed that your end goal is marriage. How do you date somebody for 10 years and not marry them? We just, we didn't need that piece of paper you're not willing to take it to a level where you actually put forth a commitment and have the risk of having to, do some work to separate. You want it to be a clean separation. As long as we allow ourselves the clean separation, as long as we allow ourselves the ability to leave a relationship without any type of setback, any type of reaction, like no consequences. There we go. To leave a relationship without consequences means that you're not ever going to be fully committed. And then you can say, well, that's up to each person's determination. Some people out there are just responsible enough to manage themselves. Yep. How many people do you know that have the self-control to manage themselves in that way in any aspect? How many people do you know never eat cookies before dinner and always brush their teeth 7 times a day and always do exactly this, follow their diets to a T, go to the gym 5 to 6 days a week, and My point is that people do not have self-control at that level scientifically. By the end of the day, science has proven that we, through the exercises that we go through on our 9 to 5 day of work, by the end of the day, we barely have enough willpower to do the chores that we have to do, let alone making these kind of responsible decisions that are auxiliary. So why even put that kind of pressure on yourself? Why hold yourself to that high of a standard when we know that human beings crack under that level of pressure? Okay? Having a little bit less choice in that realm would give you a little bit more mental freedom to go ahead and become the best version of yourself. Meaning that if you just decided that you wanted to build something with somebody, sat there, locked down, identify each other as they are and show what you want to grow into, and then fall into that plan, you'd feel a lot better and more stable than, oh yeah, we just vibing. We're just vibing. We're just doing our thing, feeling each other out, and it'll work out, man. We got love for each other, man. Whatever we want to do, as long as we communicate and we're okay. It's like, oh, okay. Okay, when where's that going to get you in 30 years? 30 years of that gets you what? And last but not least, I want us to focus on the fact that it ain't cheating because we have to stop putting so much value into sexual promiscuity in totality. I'm a man, so I'm guilty of this myself. Putting value in sexual promiscuity is a short-sighted affair. And I mean, man and woman, we all like sex. We do. But we have to understand what human beings have this function for. It was not for pleasure. Like, that's not what it is for. It's cool that is a added benefit. I'm not telling everybody to be celibate. We can exercise it responsibly. But a deeper communication and a deeper understanding of intercourse, intimacy, childbearing, child rearing, and all of these things that come with romantic relationships needs to be delved into a little bit further. This video isn't necessarily as centrally focused as I wanted it to be, because I can go on all day and have a funny video about how, it ain't cheating, on some player stuff, blah blah blah, have 7, 8, 9, whatever. It's like we all have this braggadocious hyper image of ourselves somewhere in there, where you want to be the ultra player and the ladies man and this, that, and the other and everything like that. Leon Blomley, whatever his name was from that movie. But I say all that to say that we need a little bit more education on how we got here, how things can be better, and how we can get there. Because I'm 27 years old. I come from the same generation that a lot of the people that I'm talking about come from. I've had these mentalities in the past. I believed that marriage doesn't matter and why do I need the government involved in my relationships and things like that. But I'll tell you what, when we go through things like 2020 and we see financial crisis and we see people who are stranded on their own, man, woman, when we see men and women fighting in shopping centers for toilet paper, and we question how society got here, we have to take a look at the times when we're in the law. If you can say F you, I don't need you when times are good, and then turn around and, look back and say, why weren't you there when times are bad? That speaks upon where we're at as a society. And I will say that on both sides of the coin, I saw man and woman do that during last year and into this year. And it disappointed me, and it opened my eyes, and it changed me mentally to make me into the person that I am now. And I'm working on growing and developing myself every single day, to make sure that I am a better contributing member to society. And I don't use the fact that capitalism or the governments or people out there who may be higher in numbers than me have a different agenda than me or make it harder on me to succeed. Because what am I going to do about it? Cry and complain? Ask people to change? Or am I going to try and overcome the objectives, the obstacles in my way? I think that's what fundamentally needs to be taken into consideration here. The way to win in relationships is to not break up. If you can tell me any other success that you can get from a relationship, happiness, love, like these are all little. If I tried to hold love or happiness in my hands, it would fall through the crevices between my fingers. And what I mean by that is we need something more tangible, something more palpable to I guess view as the goal in relationships. That's what I want us to be focusing on. And I get people to have a conversation like that by starting with, it ain't cheating if you not my fiance. And people are like, you just want to cheat, you just want to sleep with whoever you want to, you are the problem in society. Okay, cool, fair enough. But like I said, I just want to see us in a better place as a whole, as humankind. I've said enough on this subject. Definitely thoughts and opinions would be much appreciated in the comment section down below. Whether you agree with me, whether you disagree with me, whether you agree with a portion of what I'm saying, definitely identify it. What do you think that I can improve on with my message? And I hope that you enjoy the content that I'm bringing here. And if you do, make sure to like and subscribe and have a great rest of your day. Once again, this was Jordan Dominique with the Shining Force channel, and I'm out of here.